Hey, a little bit of a different video today. I know I usually talk about Monster Hunter and the science of Monster Hunter, but outside of Monster Hunter, I am a scientist and paleoartist. And so I thought I would walk everybody through the process that I went through for creating this image that I did in the background here, which is a drawing of Xilousuchus that I did for the Wikipedia page because it was unillustrated. And there is just very little art of this animal despite its importance. It's the oldest known true archosaur. According to a lot of people. Not all, but most. So generally, I start all of my art processes by just kind of messing around, either digitally or on a sticky note or something until I get an idea. And with this one, I initially wanted to do just like kind of a fairly standard side angle, like you would see in a textbook or something, just to give everybody a good impression of the animal's anatomy. But Xilousuchus is not a very well-known animal. It doesn't have a lot of material to it. And while that material is significant and it is diagnostic and it tells us a lot about what this animal was like, um, one thing that it does not tell us is whether or not it has a sail on its back. So it's because of that that I decided just to illustrate the skull and neck, because that is the majority of what's known from this animal. This is a pretty sizable amount of the Xilousuchus material. It's the holotype. It was found in China. It's called Xilousuchus saipingensis. Um, and it's mainly just skull material and then some backbones. And none of these backbones include the ones that would be bearing that big old sail like you saw on Arizonosaurus there. Even though Xilousuchus probably had a sail, I just didn't want this piece of art to age badly, so I decided not to include it and just go for the head. So I started by kind of just laying down the colors, which I'll get into in a little bit, and then I started drawing scales on the face. And I decided to put scales on the face as opposed to the keratinized skin of alligators and crocodiles and basically all modern archosaurs, because dinosaur skin impressions tend to suggest that these animals would have had a scaly face. Dinosaurs are a really large group of archosaurs, and crocodiles and birds both have really, really specialized faces. So they're not really reflective of what the first archosaurs would have had faces like. And Xilousuchus, if you look at that skull, it's very smooth. It's not very deeply pitted. An alligator's skull like this, the part of the skin that is not scaly is very rugose. It's very bumpy, and there's room for all these nerves and blood vessels to pass through to support that kind of keratinized skin that sits around the mouth. Xilousuchus doesn't have that, so it probably would have just had a scaly face, and that's what led me to make that decision. So what's up with these? So these things right here are the lacrimal crests. Well, the front one is the lacrimal crest. The one on top of the eye is the postorbital crest. Um, a lot of archosaurs have these. Modern archosaurs do to a lesser degree. Cuban crocodiles have a pretty large like boss behind their eye. But dinosaurs and basically all the archosaurs that look quite primitive, and some of the earlier archosaurs, a lot of them have these postorbital and lacrimal crests, just because that's the way their skulls are structured. And it seems plausible to me and many others that this sort of lacrimal crest would have anchored a big keratin sort of sheath that could act as a display structure, kind of like Cuban crocodiles do with their big horns on the back of their head. In general, archosaurs are no stranger to really, really bizarre display structures. And so this is really, really tame for the kind of thing that you would expect to see in an archosaur. So why did I choose these colors? Coloration is a real doozy when it comes to paleo art. Oftentimes, when I'm just drawing an animal and I don't put a lot of research into it, and I'm just drawing for fun, I will color it whatever the heck I want because it looks pretty. But when you're doing a piece of paleo art that is well researched, you can't just do that. You have to carefully think about whether or not this animal's phylogenetic position, which is what animals it's related to, what traits it would have had, would allow these colors to be produced by its skin. For example, you would not really ever expect to see a bright blue cow. Um, if you draw an extinct cow and you make its skin bright blue, Is that necessarily impossible? No. Is it extraordinarily unlikely? Yes, because cows tend not to have that sort of very specialized structural coloration. Um, so I picked these colors. I picked this brown, just this like kind of brown that goes across most of the face here. That's just a melanin. Melanin is an incredibly common pigment. All living archosaurs have melanins, and all the structural pigments in the birds, which are archosaurs, are derived from melanins. Um, and then the yellow down here are supposed to be carotenoid pigments. Some animals will take pigments out of their skin, or out of their food, and put it into their skin. And those are called carotenoid pigments. It's how a lot of birds get those really bright colors. But in snakes and in saltwater crocodiles, there are carotenoid pigments that make them appear yellow. Um, yeah, it just has to do with their diet and the kind of skin structure. There's a specific word for it, but I forget. Archosaur colors are just really crazy. I wanted to have this slide. These animals are both archosaurs. They're both very closely related. The one on the left is a saltwater crocodile, I believe, or a Nile crocodile. I think that's a salty. And then this on the right is a king vulture. This yellow and this yellow are both carotenoid pigments. This red, I believe, is also a carotenoid. Um, This white is unpigmented. This is all melanins. I believe that is eumelanin. And the same deal with the black on this croc's back. So how can I put the ear hole behind the skull? This is something you'll see a lot in paleoart, and I have seen very few people explaining why we do it. It's kind of a rookie mistake. A lot of the times when someone is drawing a dinosaur for the first time, they will do that, and then they'll see, oh, there's a hole in the skull that sits right behind the eye. This is a dinosaur skull. There's a hole in the skull that goes right behind the eye, right here. That's the ear hole. I'm going to put the ear in there. And while I believe it is correct that the actual like nerve and canal for the ear go in there, that's not where the ear hole is in archosaurs. The canal kind of pulls out behind and then opens there. Um, I learned this because I dissect birds sometimes. So I know that it doesn't sit there, but I'm sure there's also some people online who talk about that. Anyway, so the ear canal would go back here. That was a weird tangent, but the ear canal goes back here, and then it would exit there. Uh, yeah, um, that's just, I wanted to go over that because it's a common misconception that a lot of people run into when they're doing dinosaur art or just general paleo art for the first time is putting the ear hole inside the skull when it should be behind it. Um, Back to the drawing board. So I put this out for review at that point, the last image, and then someone commented and was like, "Yeah, this is okay, but you could do some better stuff with the skull." So this is a screenshot of me kind of finagling around with the different parts of the skull. I actually hadn't received this image on the right, but keep that in mind; it's important. This was just me going off of someone's like verbal description of what I should do, and so I lengthened the teeth. I made the neck straighter because it probably wouldn't have been able to, or at least wouldn't have bent its neck up like that all the time. It was probably within its range of motion, but it's just unlikely that the animal would hold its head like that. It's a little bit too dinosaurian. It's a poposaur, not a dinosaur. Um, and then I was also told to like move the front of the premaxilla down a little bit, and so I did. And I also made the teeth a little bit longer. But I messed up. So this is what I ended up with after those notes because I was just going off of someone's words. But I ended up kind of misinterpreting the direction that I was supposed to curve this front section of the mouth in. And so I curved it up when I should have kind of curved it down. And you'll see in the final version it's curved down. But the neck is good. So basically everything beyond just the premaxilla, ding, I got to check on that. So I was basically just told, fix the front of this thing's skull, and then you're good. And so I did. I made the teeth a little bit longer, and I curved down the nose just so you can have like a nice little ski slope, which is in line with the fossil. There's a little like kind of curve there, and I think it looks pretty dang good. So that's my finished drawing of Xilousuchus. It's now on Wikipedia. If you look up Xilousuchus, I believe it's the first result, which I'm incredibly proud of. That just tickles me. I always love when that happens. That's the main reason why I like to illustrate very obscure animals, is because they jump to the top of Google results very quickly. Um, if you draw a T-Rex and post it somewhere and you Google T-Rex, no one's going to see it. But if you draw Chanoides, there are literally 3 illustrations of that animal ever, and one of them is from the paper. So I'm 33% of the Chanoides the Chanoides market right now. Anyway, short video, but I hope everybody enjoyed. I want a huge thank you to all my paid subscribers, my paid supporters. Splift, thank you. DJ, Cake Chad the Vast, Brick Floats More, Ellie the Anki, Joe Evans, Ian, Gremlin Hours, and our newest member, Devin Wilberg. All my paid supporters get access to my Discord, where I post scans of my art, like this Dimetrodon. If you're interested in my Monster Hunter series, I post scanned PNGs of all of the journal pages in there, and I just generally provide some updates and teasers for the next episodes and the next projects that I'm working on. Upon request, you guys can also get like PSDs, Photoshop documents of my digital art, and just ask me questions, hang out. Usually when Monster Hunter title updates come out or new games come out, I play them with my subs. So yeah, everybody, come on over if you want and you are able to. Thanks everybody for watching, and let me know if you have any questions, comments, and like the video if you liked, and subscribe if you really liked. Yeah.